Now we look at section S2.03, where we look at the lean concepts like continuous improvement, collaborative working, project as a production system, and lean culture. So, to look at continuous improvement as the first concept, very important concept. So, lean is all about continuous improvement in every way. That actually provides a framework to look at the work processes and seek better performance all the time. It's not one-time activity. It's actually permeating across the entire process from start to end. We keep improving continuously. So there are a number of tools available with cross-functional teams as usual. It's always better. Some of the features which are coming as a result of continuous improvement. We have improved quality of work processes. Then we can reduce the errors and defects, reduce rework, then reduce waste and costs and increase the value to the client. Then the entire flow of the process can be improved again by looking at the continuous improvement. Then the complex processes have to be simplified by looking at them deeply. Then the lead times for the various processes can be reduced. And finally, employee morale can be improved by continuous improvement. Everybody likes to work in an environment which is continuously improving, where you have a positive kind of atmosphere, which is very, very encouraging for employee morale. So, the PDCA approach we talked about earlier, plan, do, check and act, that's very useful for continuous improvement. If you look at the various lean processes and see where all we can apply continuous improvement, the first thing which comes to our mind is the CPS process. So, we use a concept called PPC there, and PPC, the limit is only 100%. So, how do we keep improving PPC to come as close to 100? That's very important. We do that by looking at the problems which have gone wrong, which are the problems which are affecting us, which are preventing us from scoring 100% PPC. And for that, we look at the root causes and eliminating the root causes. And we should remember that there are feedback loops in the daily planning to weekly planning to look ahead planning, and so on. So, with all this, we have an atmosphere of continuous improvement. And we have these first run studies or mock-up work with the plan, do, check, act approach. Again, an example of continuous improvement. We do various kinds of value stream mapping, work sampling studies and so on. Again, all leading to improvement all the time. 5S is an example of perfect visual management in our quest for continuous improvement. BIM, building information modeling, that gives you the framework or the platform on which we can practice continuous improvement. Any change you make, you get the effect, the implications of cost and time immediately. So, that helps you to keep on improving continuously and reduce the wastage, increase the value and so on. And the big room approach again is another example where multiple stakeholders come together and try to create value, try to create commonality, try to get to convergence, and all the time improving continuously with multiple inputs. So, that was continuous improvement. And looking at collaborative working, that's a very basis for the CPS or last planner system. Collaborative working is actually the action of working with someone else to produce and create something. That's the basis of collaboration. So, we need to have, it starts with sharing information and knowledge across a team and to work together to develop the best possible project plan within the applicable budget, the schedule and quality requirements. That's where the collaboration part comes in. True collaboration normally is facilitated if you have face-to-face, hand-to-hand working together of multiple people in a collaborative space that makes all the ideas feasible, visible and acceptable, and allows all the voices to be heard, to come to a common problem solving mode by after having considered all the various viewpoints and converging towards the best. So, this particular system, the approach facilitates continuous improvement and collaborative working. That definitely leads on to innovation, because you have multiple people working together and bringing synergy to make the situation better all the time. So, innovation is very good. And finally, with so many people working together and after having been heard, depending on others, like that, that sort of thing also develops the trust part of lean culture. So, trust again develops and innovation develops after having practiced collaborative working. There is some confusion between cooperation and collaboration. We need to be very clear about that. Cooperation normally comes in when you have different kind of organizations with different culture working together to achieve common objectives, and that can be done independently with proper coordination. But that's not true collaboration. True collaboration happens when you have people within the same organization coming to with a common vision to create the common organization if they are not otherwise, and with a lot of trust and transparency. Then they jointly maximize the value for the customer by solving the problem through an interactive process. That's the collaborative process. They all plan together and they share the responsibilities, risks and rewards. The collaboration is planned based on sharing the responsibilities, risks and rewards. That's very important part. So, we don't just collaborate and leave it like that. We also make sure that we come to the end part of it. That means your results are achieved together by proper collaboration. If you look at the sequence of the process, we start with the commitment that all people work together. Trust develops. Trust is a very key part in the collaborative process, and there is total visibility and transparency of all knowledge which all the people possess. All the knowledge is put on the table, so total transparency and visibility. Then they collaborate together based on the trust, the knowledge and so on, then achieve the common objective, whatever needs to be achieved. So, the collaborative part that comes as a result of starting with the commitment to achieve the objectives in the process I explained just now. The next concept we would like to look at is project as a production system. So, if you trace the development of projects right from the earlier times, we were looking at from a basic point of view of productivity, then we looked at predictability, and today's environment, today's time period, we look at profitability as one of the key components that creates value, and hence we look at profitability. So, the key strategies which Ford had of mass production, Frank Bullard's flow production, and followed by the Toyota production system, they all include a basic flow of production from the beginning till the end, and then reducing variability by controlling the amount of work in process or work in progress. So, the main concept here is to reduce the variability. If you look at, we say production, normally we mean the production from a factory where the same process goes on day after day with the same set of people, with the same process, same starting point, same objectives. So, you have total controlling, total certainty, zero variability. Whereas construction, every project is different, the stakeholders are different, the processes could be different, and then we have a lot of variability due to the environment also. So, how do we control all these variabilities? By adopting something like last planner system or the collaborative planning system, and then we bring in the look ahead planning consistent with removal of constraints. Then we narrow down to the weekly plan, daily plan. We have the feedback loops. All the time we are trying to eliminate variability, improve the certainty level and reduce the work in progress. So, earlier days we used to say cost and time and work in progress to go towards the with the goods and quality, the process design and the resource use. So, but today we have, apart from these three, we also bring in the capacity, inventory and tackle the variability. So once variability is tackled properly, we have a production system fully developed in place. That we need to remember. The last concept we look at today is the lean culture. What is the culture? The culture actually is a set of values, attitudes, beliefs, and orientations which are shared together. So they are prevalent in the organization. So that forms a culture. In the culture, everybody knows how to behave. They share common beliefs and values. They don't have to be told. That's actually culture. So if you have a social domain that emphasizes the various practices, discourses, or the way people talk to each other and the material expressions, which over time it expresses the continuity, discontinuity in the same meaning and the same principles held in common by all the people, that becomes culture. So culture actually, you have a common set of beliefs which are unspoken understanding between the various people, that again develops over a period of time. So if you have a shared culture, all the people for sharing that particular culture, they are in something like an autopilot mode. They don't need to be told, they behave in the same particular manner. So the Toyota way, if you look at the Toyota culture, that was again inspired and empowered people, good communications, and continuous improvement. So these attributes were developed and shared between all the employees. So they all tended to behave in the same way, which was called the Toyota way or the Toyota culture. So again, we need to develop a culture amongst the team if you want it to be working together in a long run in the same manner, in a sustainable manner, which is sustaining in the long process. So that is why the culture is very much required. Even if each participant comes from a different organizational culture, they need to develop the current organization's culture in such a way that they all are supporting to each other, they encourage each other and behave in the same way. If you have a project team culture, which is a common shared understanding, then you have a fully collaborative delivery model. Otherwise, that collaborativeness doesn't really take place between the various people. That common shared culture, that's very important. So the culture actually goes much more than only the inspirational, aspirational sayings. We must do this, we must achieve that. But it also encourages a positive attitude that people have to behave in a particular way, and the same space, tools, and processes are very important to put together in a proper way to develop the culture. For example, in the lean culture, we have attributes like being trustful, open-minded, globalistic, collaborative, or innovative. So these attributes, they don't come, just like that. They have to be developed, and that comes in a positive encouragement, getting all the people in the organization to think alike, behave alike, and work alike. That's where the parts, and that's facilitated if you have these attributes like being trustful, open-minded, being globalistic, etc. So basically, if you get the right attributes, which are actually understood, which are implicitly followed by all the people, like I said, in an autopilot kind of mode, then the culture is totally prevalent and work can be done the way we need to do to get the common objective. So the culture is a very, very important part of the process which to attain, for example, the lean way or the lean method of doing things for a particular project. Thank you.